My daughter refused to let me attend her wedding to avoid making her mother, who abandoned her since birth, uncomfortable, and now that her mother didn't show up for the wedding, she asks for forgiveness. My daughter and I have been living alone since forever. Her mother, after giving birth to her, said she wasn't ready to be a mother, that she was still too young and couldn't handle that responsibility. I understood her feeling that way. We were both very young, and I was nervous too, but I thought she would just overcome it, and we would manage to take care of the child together. However, I was wrong. 1 week after the child was born, I tried to contact her and couldn't. When I called her family, they simply told me she had traveled abroad, and neither she nor they wanted to have any kind of relationship with this child, and they hoped I would understand, then they blocked me. At that time, I had just started college, had absolutely no contact with my relatives, and hardly earned anything working part-time. So, to provide a decent life for her, I dropped out of college and started working every day, from Sunday, to support her. I left her in the care of my neighbor, whom I paid a weekly fee, and she was practically a mother to my daughter. As time went by, my daughter grew up. She no longer needed a babysitter but still spent time with my neighbor, who no longer charged me for leaving her there, but I still helped her in any way I could. Everything was improving. I no longer needed to work every day of the week since I had found a better job, and I was quite happy overall. However, all that changed when my daughter finally got engaged. She had been dating an amazing guy for a few years, whom I always liked, and since I met him, I developed a friendship with him, and he finally proposed to her. We posted all of this on our social media because it was an incredible moment in our lives, but unfortunately, that reached my daughter's mother, who for some reason, after more than 23 years, decided to get in touch with her. She got emotional, said she wanted to see her, and her mother said she would make sure to be at her wedding. Although I was against it since her mother ignored her for decades and refused to help me in any way, I didn't say anything because I didn't want to spoil my daughter's happiness. However, her fiancé, on the other hand, said he found it unfair, and after everything, it wouldn't be fair to let her into such an important ceremony. All of this sparked a discussion where I ended up saying that it was okay, that what mattered was her happiness, and that was all I wanted. I thought everything would go well, and I just needed to stay away from her, but to my surprise, 1 week before the wedding, my daughter said she wanted to talk to me. I thought it would be something about the decoration or something like that, but I was wrong. My daughter said she wanted her mother to be the one to walk her down the aisle to symbolize them reconnecting after so many years. I asked if that was serious, and she said yes. Honestly, at that moment, I had to hold back a lot to not say anything or not to cry, but after a few minutes in silence, I just said it was okay, and again, if it made her happy, I would be content to just be there. But then she said that not only would I not walk her down the aisle, but I also couldn't go to the wedding to avoid making her mother uncomfortable. And that's what sparked a whole discussion because at that moment, I saw all my years of dedication, my sacrifice dream, everything I did for her, being thrown away to prioritize someone who never even bothered to call to see how she was doing. But the situation doesn't end there since after that, I sent her away from my house. The wedding took place, but to her surprise, her mother wasn't there. She tried to call her, but she simply said she couldn't do it, that she couldn't reconnect with her after all this time, and hung up and blocked my daughter. Her fiancé only found out that she banned me from the wedding on the day of the wedding, so he wasn't in a good mood either, and of course, on that day, no one walked my daughter down the aisle. Not only that, but I had promised to pay for half of the wedding, but of course, I won't anymore. I think knowing this was the last straw for her. She came to my house crying, begging, saying she was sorry and that she didn't want to have done that, and that she wanted me to have gone to the wedding. I told her that if she really wanted it, I would have gone, but she didn't, and that's okay. But for me, that was the worst betrayal she could have done, and at that moment for me, she showed how ungrateful she was for everything I did for her. She tried to apologize again, but I just asked her to leave. At this point, I only talk to her fiancé, who constantly says how unfair what she did was and asks for forgiveness, but it's not his fault, and even though I say that, he keeps apologizing to me. Honestly, I don't know if I want to have contact with my daughter anymore. I won't refuse to talk to her, but I feel that after this, the bond we had before broke, and I can only see in her the person who replaced me to prioritize someone who never cared for her.